Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The rain tapped lightly against the windows of the penthouse as the clock struck 7:18 p.m. Maya stood motionless in the living room, her eyes fixed on the small black suitcase by the mahogany door. It looked too ordinary for something carrying years of silent suffering. She had packed only what she needed: some clothes, her documents, a framed photo of her late mother, and a journal she hadn't dared open in months. The rest, she told herself, could rot. Behind her, footsteps echoed on the polished floor. Maya. The voice came low, controlled. Too calm for a man who usually exploded. She didn't turn around. Maya, what is this? Dyron asked, stepping into the room in his crisp navy shirt, sleeves rolled halfway up. You think dragging your little suitcase out here will scare me? Still she said nothing. He moved closer, circling until he stood in front of her, blocking her view of the door. Maya. Her gaze finally rose to meet his. There was no anger in her eyes, no desperation. Just tiredness. Tired of the cycles. The silence after the shouting. The apologies that only lasted until the next control game. Dyron narrowed his eyes. You're being dramatic again. She didn't flinch. You think you can just walk out? And then what? You think the world is waiting for you with open arms? He scoffed. Without me you are nothing, Maya. Nothing. Still no response. He stepped back, exasperated. Are you even going to say something? She inhaled slowly, as if drawing courage from the air itself, and then bent to zip the suitcase. That was the moment it became real. Dyron's face twisted. You're serious? Yes, she said softly. One word. Sharp as a blade. His voice dropped, venom laced through every syllable. You're throwing away 10 years of your life. For what? Because I raised my voice once? Because I told you the truth about yourself? Because you don't like rules? She didn't respond to the bait. Instead, she walked past him and reached for the suitcase handle. You'll regret this, he said. I swear to God you will. She paused at the door. I've been regretting staying, Dyron. For years. He flinched. You think people will pity you? He growled. You think anyone will believe your little victim story? You'll come crawling back. You'll see. Maya opened the door. Outside, the hallway smelled like pine wood and cleaning polish. Familiar. Safe. And just as she stepped over the threshold, she heard it. Leave, he spat, and I will ruin you. She turned her head slightly, her eyes meeting his one final time. Then, without a word, she closed the door behind her. Silence fell on the penthouse. Inside, Dyron stood still, his breath ragged. Outside, Maya walked down the hallway, each step lighter than the one before. Maya didn't cry as she stepped into the elevator. She didn't shake. There was no trembling. Only breath. A quiet freedom crawling its way back into her chest. As the elevator descended, her fingers grazed the gold bracelet her mother had given her, engraved with the word, enough. She smiled faintly. When the doors opened on the ground floor, the receptionist, a young woman named Faye, looked up. Evening, ma'am. Maya nodded. Good night, Faye. The girl's eyes briefly dropped to the suitcase, then quickly returned to Maya's face. Do you need help calling a cab? I already did, Maya replied, her voice steady. He's outside. Faye gave a small, sympathetic smile. Be safe. Maya walked past her, head high. Outside, the city glowed under drizzle and street lamps. A modest Toyota Corolla idled at the curb. The driver, an elderly man with graying temples, stepped out and opened the boot without question. As he placed her suitcase in, he said, Going far, Ma? Just starting over, Maya said with a soft smile. He nodded like he understood. Maybe he did. She settled into the back seat and texted one person. Aunt Wara, I'm on my way. As the car pulled into traffic, Maya looked out the window, watching the familiar streets blur by. The boutique cafe where Dyron had first proposed. The gallery where they had once laughed. All of it felt like another woman's life. She touched her chest, half expecting it to crack open from fear. But what she felt instead was space. Room to breathe. Back in the penthouse, Dyron sat on the edge of the bed, one hand clenched into a fist. She'll come back, he muttered to himself. She always does. But a part of him, buried deep beneath ego and entitlement, knew something was different. This time she hadn't cried. She hadn't begged. She hadn't screamed. She had just walked away. And silence, as Dyron was beginning to realize, could be the loudest sound in the world. The sky was darker now. The city lights blinked lazily as Maya's taxi moved through the traffic. Her phone buzzed on her lap. Dyron. Again. She stared at the screen, watching his name light up for the 6th time. Then 7th. She placed it face down. She was done listening. Ma'am? The driver's voice broke her thoughts. You okay? She nodded. Yes. Thank you. But she wasn't. Not yet. She was bruised, mentally, emotionally, but not broken. And that distinction she now realized was everything. The car pulled into a quiet estate, rows of bungalows with mango trees casting large shadows. Familiar territory. Comforting. Safe. Aunt Wura opened the front door even before Maya stepped out. Her wrapper was tied at the waist, hair wrapped, eyes brimming with concern and love. Maya, she whispered. Maya didn't say a word. She rushed forward and collapsed into her aunt's arms. Inside, over a hot bowl of ogbono and fufu, Aunt Wura said, You look too calm. That worries me. I'm not calm, Maya replied. I'm tired. Exhausted from screaming in silence. Did he put hands on you? No, she said, eyes fixed on her spoon. Not his fists. But his words were worse. Aunt Wura reached for her hand. You're not the same Maya I saw 5 years ago. You're quieter now. But sharper. Maya smiled faintly. I didn't leave to punish him. I left to save what was left of me. She pulled out her phone again. 10 missed calls. 2 voicemails. Then a message popped up. You think I'm bluffing? I'll make sure no one ever hires you. Don't test me. Maya exhaled, showing it to Aunt Wura. Her aunt stared at it. He really said that? I expected it. What are you going to do? Maya looked up. I'm going to start again. Quietly. Smartly. And if he tries to ruin me, I'll let him dig his own grave. The room Aunt Wura offered her hadn't changed since Maya's university days. Same pale pink curtains. Same wooden dresser. Same scent of camphor. Maya sat at the edge of the bed with a towel around her shoulders. She had washed off the penthouse perfume, every trace of Dyron. The silence was thick but peaceful. She opened her journal. The pages were worn, edges curled. She flipped past poetry, pain, and prayers. Then she landed on a folded paper, her resume. She chuckled to herself. Dyron had mocked her when she once brought up working again. Work? He'd scoffed. Why bother when I can provide? You want to be a glorified secretary? But Maya had known. One day she might need a lifeline. And tonight was that day. She pulled out her laptop, connected to Aunt Wura's Wi-Fi, and opened her email draft folder. Several job applications were still unsent. A new email sat in her inbox. Ms. Maya Oyenuga, we would like to invite you for an interview at Aritsamaiwa Consulting. Your profile is impressive. Her heart stopped. That was a real firm. A mid-tier strategy company with a reputation for integrity. She showed it to her aunt the next morning. Go, Aunt Wura said firmly. And don't dress like you're asking for permission. Dress like you belong in the room. Maya smiled, courage rising like sun rays on her skin. Maya walked into the sleek glass building in a navy dress, minimal makeup, and a firm grip on her handbag. She felt small, yes, but not invisible. Inside, the receptionist directed her upstairs. On the elevator ride, she whispered to herself, You belong here. She met the panel, 3 professionals in sharp suits. They smiled politely. After the initial questions, the HR manager, Ms. Remy, folded her hands. Maya, your credentials are excellent, but I must ask, why the long gap? Maya took a breath. Personal reasons. I was in a controlling marriage where I wasn't allowed to pursue a career. I've left that situation. The room went quiet for a second. Then Ms. Remy nodded slowly. Thank you for your honesty. Another woman on the panel, a sharp-eyed consultant, leaned forward. How do we know your former partner won't interfere with your employment? Maya replied calmly, because I'm not asking for permission anymore. The room was still. That afternoon, Maya received the call. You got the job, Ms. Remy said. But be aware, your ex-husband already called us. He warned us against hiring you. Maya froze. Then why? Because I've dealt with his kind before. See you Monday. As Maya ended the call, her smile returned. Her first silent victory. Dyron stared at his phone, seething. She hadn't replied to any of his messages. And now she had a job? He opened his contact list and began dialing. First his lawyer. File something. Anything. Just make sure she's tied to my name legally. Then his old university friend who ran in PR circles. Start whispering that she's unstable. She had breakdowns before. Don't be obvious, just seed doubt. and finally his financial controller. Was there ever any transaction in the company under her name? Yes, sir. You authorized some years ago. Perfect, he said with a grin. Then it won't be hard to make it look like she misused funds. By the time Dyron ended the calls, he was already crafting a new narrative. She wanted to walk out quietly? Fine. He'd make her name mud. Meanwhile, Maya got ready for her first day. She wore a cream blouse and black slacks. Modest, neat, confident. You sure you want to go? Aunt Wara asked. He might not be done. Maya smiled. Let him play chess. I'm done being a pawn. That morning she walked into Aritsamaiwa Consulting, not as Dyron's wife, but as Maya Oyenuga, ready to reclaim her name. Maya stepped into Aritsamaiwa Consulting's marble lobby, her heels echoing on the polished floors. She clutched her ID card, newly printed. For the first time in years, her name wasn't attached to his. The receptionist smiled. Good morning, Ms. Oyenuga. Good morning, Maya returned with a calm nod. As she took the elevator to the 7th floor, a whisper of anxiety crept into her chest. Was Dyron really done? Her answer came at noon. HR summoned her into a glass-walled office. Ms. Oyenuga, Ms. Remy began, eyes steady. Your ex-husband has called again. He claimed you forged documents under his company. He's threatening a lawsuit. Maya's stomach twisted. That's not true. I know. But we need you to stay alert. If he's this persistent now, he may escalate. Maya breathed out slowly. He wants me to quit before I begin. We won't let him bully you, Remy said. But you need to stay sharp. Later that day, Maya received a strange email from operations. Please resend your ID to update your payroll. Use this private form. It looked legitimate, until she noticed the odd sender address. She forwarded it to IT immediately. Dyron had started his games. But Maya? She wasn't playing anymore. She was preparing. Day 2 was smooth, until Maya returned from lunch to find a flash drive placed on her desk. No note. No explanation. She held it up, confused. Is this yours? She asked her desk neighbor, Talu. Nope. I wouldn't touch it, he said, eyeing it warily. Something wasn't right. Her instinct screamed caution. She walked it straight to IT. Minutes later, the technician frowned. Ma'am, this has malware. If you'd plugged it in, your system could have been compromised. Maya blinked. What kind of malware? One that extracts credentials. Someone wanted access. Maya clenched her jaw. Can we trace who put it there? We're checking the floor cameras now. The footage was damning. A woman from procurement had quietly slid it onto her desk. She was fired within the hour. But Maya knew the woman didn't even know her. Someone had paid her off. That evening she called Aunt Wara. He's trying harder. And failing harder, her aunt replied. He's not fighting you, he's fighting your strength. That night, Maya sat by her window and wrote a list titled Dyron's Moves versus Maya's Responses. Sabotage, clarity, threats, strategy, noise, silence. And at the bottom she wrote, I will not go back. By her 3rd week, Maya had found rhythm. She arrived early, stayed focused, and kept to herself. Until one Friday morning, HR summoned her again. Maya, Remy said gravely. There's been a complaint. Maya blinked. What kind? A client's branded pen set went missing during the meeting yesterday. You were the last one in the room. Maya froze. I didn't take anything. I believe you, Remy said. But protocol says we check. They pulled up the security footage. At first, it showed Maya packing her notes calmly. But then something odd happened. A junior staff member, Tund, lingered by the table before her. His hand slipped the pen case into her laptop bag, carefully, deliberately. When questioned, he broke down. A man came to me. Paid me 50,000 naira to do it. Said she'd understand why. Maya closed her eyes. His name? Remy asked. Tund swallowed. Dyron. He said he was her husband. The news traveled through the office like wildfire. But instead of shame, Maya received stares of admiration. By noon, her team surprised her with a coffee and a small card. We see you, and we stand with you. Maya smiled through her tears. For the first time, someone stood with her. And Dyron? He had overplayed his hand. Dyron leaned back in his leather chair, sipping whiskey, watching his empire wobble. His calls hadn't worked. His tactics backfired. So he went higher. He requested a private meeting with Maya's managing director, Mr. Bayo Adelik. And got it. Inside the boardroom, Dyron flashed his best smile. This is nothing personal. But Maya is unstable. There's a trail of emotional distress. You're risking your firm's name. Bayo sat silently. Dyron leaned forward. Drop her now, or I'll make headlines. Bayo finally spoke. You done? Dyron blinked. Excuse me? You came to my company, threatened my staff, and insulted her resilience. Bayo rose. Let me tell you something. I've watched your wife outwork everyone here. She's not my wife anymore, Dyron snapped. Even better, Bayo said. She's not tied to you. And I don't tolerate bullies. Dyron stood. You'll regret this. No, Bayo replied. You will. That night, Bayo called Maya into his office. He came, he said. I figured. I shut him down. You've earned your place here. You're safe. Tears stung her eyes. Thank you. Bayo smiled. Thank you for showing us what quiet strength looks like. The first alert came at 10:41 a.m. on the last working Friday of the month. 270,000 Nigerian nairas credited, Aritsamaiwa Consulting. Maya stared at the screen, her throat tight. Her own money. Cling. She sat at her desk, unmoving for a moment. Then she whispered to herself, I did this. After work, she visited the bank and cleared an old loan. One Dyron had left in her name. The banker raised an eyebrow. Paying everything at once? Yes, she said with a gentle smile. Freedom feels better than interest. On her way home, she bought a small cake, 2 meat pies and a chilled Maltina. At Aunt Wura's house, she placed them on the table. What are we celebrating? Her aunt asked, stepping out of the kitchen. My first salary. My first real smile. They laughed and ate under the ceiling fan's soft hum. Later that night, Maya stood at the window, staring at the moon. She texted herself. I smiled today. Not because he's gone, but because I'm still here. She didn't need to shout her comeback. She was already living it. Maya was reading through a market trend report late one evening when her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She hesitated, then picked up. Hello. Pause. Then a soft voice. Maya, it's Lara. Dyron's younger sister. Maya sat upright, spine stiffening. Lara? I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But please, listen. Maya remained silent. Lara continued. Dyron's not okay. He's unraveling. He lost a contract. He's paranoid. Keeps talking about you like you're a threat. I'm not the one calling CEOs behind people's backs. I know. That's why I'm calling. He's obsessed, Maya. He's spiraling. He said he'd end you, if it's the last thing he does. Maya's grip tightened around the phone. He's always been controlling, Lara said quietly. But now, he's desperate. And desperate men are dangerous. Maya's voice was low. Why are you warning me? Because I saw what he did to our mother. And because you were kind to me when no one else was. Thank you, Maya whispered. Please be careful. I will. After hanging up, Maya sat in the dark, her thoughts spinning. She had left the house. But Dyron, he hadn't left the war. The next day Maya couldn't focus. Her mind kept returning to Lara's warning. She needed something more than survival, she needed control. So that night, she opened the old brown notebook tucked at the back of her drawer. Inside were sketches and scribbles. A food delivery idea tailored to corporate women who worked long hours but wanted fresh, healthy meals. She had drafted the plan 5 years ago. Why did I abandon this? She murmured. She knew why. Dyron had laughed when he saw it. You want to be the next Jumia? He mocked. Stick to the kitchen. Not the business of it. Maya clenched her jaw. She pulled out her laptop and Googled, Women in Business Grant Nigeria. She found one, sponsored by a global nonprofit supporting women entrepreneurs. The deadline? 2 days. She rolled up her sleeves and began typing. That weekend, Aunt Wura entered the room with a tray of jollof rice. Still typing? I'm submitting this tonight, Maya replied without looking up. And I'm going to win. Her aunt smiled proudly. That's the Maya I remember. As she clicked submit, Maya whispered, let's build something he can't touch. 3 days later, a strange email arrived in Maya's inbox. No subject. No sender name. Just a message. Dyron used your name to hide funds during that 2021 contract. Check Form B42, page 5. You're listed as financial officer. Maya's blood ran cold. She dug through her Gmail, opened old files. And there it was, her digital signature on a form she never signed. The company's profit sharing had been rerouted through a shell account. In her name. Her eyes widened. He used me. She printed the documents and took them to a lawyer, Mrs. Moreo, a seasoned woman with calm eyes and a sharp tongue. After scanning the papers, Moreo sat back. This is fraud. If you hadn't left when you did, he could have dragged you down. Can I fight this? You have to. Quietly. Gather more proof. We'll build a case. Maya left the office, wind hitting her face like a slap. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. From fury. Dyron hadn't just tried to break her heart. He had tried to bury her name. And she wasn't letting that happen. Dyron filed a lawsuit. Defamation. Emotional distress. Sabotage of reputation. Maya appeared in court with her lawyer, wearing a simple cream blouse and black skirt. Her eyes were clear, her posture straight. Dyron came with a team of 3 lawyers and a smirk. The judge looked over his glasses. Mr. Dyron Oyinii, you allege defamation. What's the basis? Dyron's lawyer rattled off Maya's libelous claims. Then it was Maya's turn. Moreo stood calmly. Your Honor, not only are the claims true, we have documentation to support that the plaintiff misused company funds, falsely attributing transactions to my client. She handed over signed contracts, shell company evidence, and digital metadata. Dyron's smirk faltered. The judge flipped through the documents. This signature belongs to the defendant? No, Your Honor, Maya replied. That's my name but not my signature. My digital signature was forged. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward. This case just turned. Dyron's lawyer whispered frantically into his ear. The judge banged his gavel. We'll reconvene with full financial records. But from this point on, Ms. Maya Oyenuga will be considered a counterclaimant. Dyron looked stunned. Maya looked unbothered. She wasn't there to argue. She was there to reclaim her name. The media didn't need social posts. Word of mouth spread faster. Investors began pulling out from Dyron's company. Partners requested audits. Staff started resigning quietly. At a cafe, Maya overheard 2 strangers whispering. Did you hear? That big-shot CEO is being investigated. They say his ex-wife exposed him. You mean the one he used to control like a puppet? She's the real boss now. Maya sipped her tea in silence. Meanwhile, Dyron was unraveling. He fired 2 employees. Snapped at a client. Tried bribing a reporter for a false story, but no one took it. He did one last thing. He went on radio. They say I'm the monster, he told the host. But I gave her everything. She's just bitter. Jealous of my success. The next morning, Maya woke up to a text from Remy. Just ignore the noise. You're doing well. Another message followed. This time from her lawyer. The board wants to settle quietly. They want your name off everything, and compensation. Maya smiled for the first time that week. Dyron could lie louder. She would just live louder. The event hall shimmered under warm spotlights. Entrepreneurs milled about nervously, some adjusting ties, others rechecking slides on their tablets. The Lagos Women in Enterprise pitch event was underway, and Maya stood backstage with a steady hand on her chest. Her name was next on the list. She wore a fitted navy dress, her natural hair swept up in a bun, and a gold bracelet gleaming on her wrist. Enough. The host called her name. She stepped onto the stage to polite applause, but something about her presence silenced the room. She clicked the first slide. Good afternoon. I'm Maya Oyenuga, founder of Lunch Bowl, a wellness delivery service for corporate women who don't have time to cook, but care about what they eat. She continued, her voice steady. She spoke of food deserts in urban business areas, affordability, meal rotation, and empowering local cooks. She didn't flinch, not even once. And finally, she concluded, this isn't just about food. It's about freedom, for the women making it and for the women receiving it. The room was silent for a heartbeat. Then applause. The judges scribbled. One whispered to the other. Backstage, Aunt Wura beamed like the sun itself. A few hours later, they announced the top 3 pitches. Maya's name was called. She had won second place, and secured 5 million Nigerian nairas in seed funding. As she stepped forward to receive the plaque, she whispered, Dyron, I didn't just walk away. I walked toward this. Dyron opened the heavy mahogany door to his once vibrant mansion. The sound of his own footsteps echoed. Silence. No staff. No laughter. No perfume in the air. His assistant had resigned the previous week. His driver had taken a job elsewhere. Even the maid who had loyally stayed through all his tantrums left without notice. The dining table was covered in unopened letters, bank notifications, warning slips, and court dates. He picked up one from his investors. Due to unresolved allegations and financial discrepancies, your executive role is under suspension pending further review. He crushed the letter in his hand and sank into the leather armchair. The same chair Maya used to curl up in on rainy days, a book in hand. He grabbed his phone and opened Instagram. Maya wasn't there. No vengeance posts. No selfies. No "look what I'm doing now." She had gone quiet. That was what haunted him most. He thought she'd scream and cry and crumble. Instead, she disappeared from his world, only to reappear in places he couldn't touch: boardrooms, award ceremonies, investor roundtables. Everything was slipping and she wasn't lifting a finger. "Where is she?" he muttered aloud. But the house gave no answer. Just silence. The gala was held at Civic Center, its glass walls glowing under fairy lights. Music floated through the evening air. Inside, the stage bore a single gold banner, celebrating resilience, women who lead in silence. Maya sat at a round table near the front, wearing an emerald green gown that shimmered under the lights. Her hair was pinned back, neck bare except for a single chain. Next to her, Aunt Wura clutched tissues proudly. Remy, her HR boss, leaned in. "You clean up well." Maya laughed. "You mean I don't look like I'm ready to fight Dyron anymore?" "No," Remy grinned. "You look like someone who already won." The host took the stage and cleared his throat. "Tonight, we honor women who rose despite sabotage, threats, and systemic blocks." He scanned the audience. "And the Woman of the Year award goes to Maya Oyenuga." Gasp. Applause. Maya blinked in disbelief. She rose, walked to the stage, and accepted the plaque with trembling fingers. At the podium, she stared at the crowd and began. "I used to think silence was weakness. But I learned that silence can be strategy. It can be strength. I didn't speak out to destroy anyone. I spoke to rebuild myself." She paused, voice thick with emotion. "This award isn't just mine. It's for every woman who left quietly and rebuilt loudly. You were never weak. You were just beginning." The crowd stood. Applause thundered. As Maya walked off stage, cameras flashed, but she wasn't performing. She was being seen finally for who she really was. It had been 4 days since the award ceremony. Maya's plaque sat humbly on a shelf beside a potted plant in Aunt Wura's living room. She hadn't done a media run. No press interviews. She went right back to building lunch bowl, vetting food vendors, and coordinating pilot deliveries with her new seed fund. It was a quiet victory. That Thursday evening, rain tapped against the windows. The sky outside was a bluish gray, the kind that made you curl under a blanket with a mug of something warm. Maya had just kicked off her heels when a knock echoed through the house. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. She paused, glancing at Aunt Wura, who sat on the couch knitting. The old woman lifted her head, curious. "You expecting someone?" "No." The knock came again. Maya stepped cautiously to the door and opened it halfway. There he stood. Dyron. Rain dripped off his collar, his once pristine shirt clinging to his frame. His eyes were sunken, his beard patchy, as though sleep and grooming had both left him. Maya stared, her heart beating evenly. "I just need 1 minute," he said, voice hoarse. She didn't speak, just stepped aside and let him in. He entered slowly, dripping on the doormat. His eyes scanned the space, small, modest, nothing like the penthouse, but it radiated warmth. There were house slippers at the door, a kettle whistling softly in the background, a picture frame on the wall with Maya and Aunt Wura grinning at a beach. "You look well," he finally said. Maya folded her arms. "Why are you here?" He hesitated, chewing his lower lip. "I didn't come to argue, or insult you, or pretend I'm the victim. I came because—" He swallowed hard, gaze flickering. "Because I ruined everything. And I can't even recognize myself anymore." Silence. "I've lost my firm, Maya. My board voted me out. The audit results went public. My reputation's gone. Investors, friends, everyone's gone silent. Even Laura moved out of our family house. She said she can't watch me implode." "I'm sorry you're going through that," Maya said quietly. "But you built it." "I know." He pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his face. "I didn't know how to handle losing control. I used to think keeping you caged meant I was protecting you. Now I realize, I was terrified you'd grow beyond me." Maya's breath caught in her chest, but she remained still. "I was wrong," he continued. "About everything. About you." She raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly were you wrong about?" "That you were weak. That you couldn't survive without me. I thought walking away would destroy you." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "And now, I see that leaving me set you free. And maybe, It's what should have happened years ago. Maya's jaw tightened. You tried to ruin me, Dyron. You bribed people. You falsified documents. You called my job, planted malware, manipulated coworkers, and framed me. You tried to turn my life into a weapon. He lowered his head. I know. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Aunt Wura walked in then, silently holding a steaming mug of tea, which she handed to Maya. She turned to Dyron and said with motherly weight, whatever you came here hoping for, say your piece and go. She has healed more than you'll ever understand. Dyron nodded. I'm not asking for her back. I don't deserve that. I came to say thank you. Maya blinked. Thank you? For leaving. For walking away when I couldn't see what I was becoming. I started therapy. I had to. It's messy. But you leaving forced me to meet myself. Maya looked at him, really looked. Not with rage. Not with love. With peace. She gently placed the mug on the center table. Dyron, I don't hate you, she said. But I don't owe you anything anymore. Not space, not explanation, not forgiveness. You say you've met yourself? Good. Now go live with him. Dyron looked up, his eyes glistening. Can I hug you? Maya hesitated. Then shook her head. No. But I'll walk you out. They stepped back into the rain. Maya stood under the porch light, watching him descend the steps slowly. As he reached the gate, he paused and turned back. Maya? Yes. I used to say I owned you. She raised her brows, unfazed. He gave a bitter smile. But the truth is, I never even knew you. And with that he walked off into the night. Maya shut the gate gently, returned inside, and sank into the sofa. Aunt Wura looked over. You all right? I'm lighter, she whispered. She picked up the mug of tea and took a long sip. Then whispered to herself. You didn't ruin me, Dyron. You freed me. The following morning arrived with golden sunlight peeking through the curtains, casting soft lines across Maya's bedroom wall. Birds chirped outside the window, and the house hummed with quiet life. Everything was still. But Maya? She was not the same woman who walked out of Dyron's penthouse weeks ago with a suitcase in silence. She lay awake for a while, replaying the moment from last night, Dyron standing soaked in the rain, not yelling, not threatening, just emptied. She hadn't needed to gloat. Life had already responded on her behalf. And yet, she wasn't smiling because he was broken. She was smiling because she was whole. A few hours later, she walked into Lunchbowl's new co-working space, a small but sunlit room with 5 desks, a kitchenette, and walls pinned with menus, handwritten schedules, and photos of local cooks testing recipes. She greeted her small team, 3 women, all once unemployed, now building something alongside her. Morning, boss, one of them chirped. Morning, Chioma, Maya said, her tone warm. Everything good with the new vendor? Yes, ma. Clean kitchen, fast prep, 0 complaints. Maya's eyes sparkled. Perfect. They had 2 catering orders and 1 delivery batch to prep before noon. She rolled up her sleeves and got to work. That's how healing looked now, not in grand speeches or revenge plans, but in laughter around a rice cooker, spreadsheets filled with progress, and inboxes full of new inquiries. At lunch, Maya stepped outside to take a walk. She passed a newsstand and caught sight of a headline. Dyron Oyenuga officially removed from company board. Cited for financial misconduct and breach of ethics. She stopped for a moment. The photo showed him in a gray suit, expression tight, surrounded by reporters. But Maya didn't feel the urge to stop and buy the paper. She just kept walking. Her story had never been about bringing him down. It had always been about rising up. Later that afternoon, she sat at her desk to draft a letter to the Women in Business Foundation. Dear Committee, with immense gratitude, I am writing to share how the grant you awarded me has transformed not just my life, but the lives of 5 other women now employed at Lunchbowl. We deliver over 150 healthy meals per week across Lagos, and we're just getting started. This journey began with a silent departure. But it grew into a loud return to self. I hope my story reminds others that silence doesn't mean surrender. Sometimes it's the prelude to a comeback. She signed it with a smile. Maya Oyenuga, founder, Lunchbowl, Nigeria. That evening, she arrived home to the smell of egusi soup bubbling in the kitchen and Aunt Wura humming to herself. Long day, her aunt called out. Rewarding day, Maya replied, removing her shoes. Aunt Wura stepped out, wiping her hands on a towel. You have something on your face. What? The old woman smiled. Peace. Maya chuckled, leaning against the wall. Feels strange, doesn't it? How quiet everything is now. It's not strange, Aunt Wura said. It's sacred. You earned this silence. Maya moved to the couch, sat down and reached for her journal. She hadn't written in it since the court hearing. She flipped past angry pages, pages soaked with tears and shaky lines of self-doubt. Tonight she opened to a fresh one. Dear future me, you did it. You left not because you were weak but because you were done shrinking. You built again not to prove anyone wrong but to prove yourself right. You didn't need to post it. You didn't need applause. You just needed your own breath back. And you have it now. You're no longer afraid of doors closing. You know how to build your own. Later that night, her phone buzzed with a voice note from Lara. I heard what you said to Dyron. Thank you for not breaking him more. He needed truth, not destruction. You gave him that. I wish I had your strength. I'm trying. Maya replied simply. Healing is loud on the inside even when we whisper through it. I'm rooting for you. As the moon climbed higher, Maya stepped outside onto the small veranda. She stood barefoot, feeling the cool tiles under her feet. The city still buzzed somewhere in the distance, but her world was calm now. She thought about all the women still stuck behind those doors she once stood at, bags packed, courage trembling. And she hoped they knew. They were not alone. That leaving isn't weakness. And that sometimes when a man says, you'll regret this, he's not predicting your downfall. He's witnessing the start of your rise. Behind her, Aunt Wura called, Come inside, Jer. Before mosquitoes design your legs. Maya laughed and stepped back in. She didn't look back at the door anymore. Because she didn't need to. It wasn't about the door that closed. It was about the life that opened after it. The end. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.